So let's just lay a quick foundation for the connection of inner voice and MindSync with the hub, okay? And right off the get-go, I'm going to tell you that my experience with the hub, we're seeing life-changing circumstances. So a lot of you have in your scanner, all of you have inner voice, and you have MindSync that you can use, and you can get great results from using that. But I just want to let you know at the very beginning that if you haven't had getting the hub on your horizon, put it there, because it can make all the change in the world, and it's definitely a game changer for you, your family, your friends, and anybody that you work with. So that first slide, we know that the brain is complex. We know that the brain is a universe in itself. There's so much that is being discovered about the brain. All the time, we see different things come up about the brain, different emotions, different possibilities of problems with heavy metals, with molds, funguses, definitely with emotion. If you just scan the brain views and comprehensive and go to your report and look at the emotion list, you will see how many emotions are actually affecting the brain and the ways that it functions. And this is really, really important to consider. Every time I see this slide, it just, no pun intended, blows my mind. The human brain has over 100 trillion neural connections, and this is the result of the brain's 100 billion neurons making tens of thousands of connections with other neurons. You can't even fathom what those numbers mean. And yet every one of us sitting here has that going on all the time. So there's so much we know about the brain, but there is so much to learn. So old beliefs. When I was younger, I heard all the time that brain cells can't be regenerated. Not true. Heard that when you got older, that you couldn't learn new things. Life was over. At the time, I was in my teens, so I thought that meant 30. But, now we know it's at 90. People can take up languages, people can take up hobbies, people can do different things, and the brain isn't limited by their age. So there's a lot of what we thought about the brain that just isn't true, and they're constantly learning new things about the brain and how it works, and it actually works to our advantage because a lot of the things that they're discovering tie right in with how our scanner works. Now, one of the things is that there's a real tight connection between the gut and the brain. It used to be that when you said you had that gut feeling or something, people would just kind of poo-hoo it because it was just thought that the brain was the brain and the gut was the gut and they were separate and there was no connection. But now we know that when you're forming in the womb, that the cells separate, part of it becomes the brain, part of it becomes the gut, but it stays connected for life. And so when you do the expression gut feeling, there is truth behind that and there is now science behind that. Here's another slide. Every millisecond, 86 billion neurons are interpreting and having a response. And I want you to notice these next few words: to our thoughts, feelings, and input that's coming in from what's going on around us. I mean, think of that. Think of how much that's millisecond, not second, right here sitting there. Can you imagine that much stuff is going on because your brain's having to keep track of everything going on in your body? And then it's also receiving things. What about the light? What about the temperature? What about this lady up on the stage? What about the person sitting next to me? Oh my God, my left foot itches. Oh my God, I gotta pick this up. Well, where are my glasses? Oh, my cell phone, I should have put it on silent. Oh, I want to take a note on what you just said. Okay, it's all going on. And it does it 24/7. It even works that hard when you're sleeping. I mean, it's just a marvel of creation. So all of that affects your adrenals. We know that. Your adrenals get all of this input, get different things happening around them. They have a stress response. When the stress response is one that puts you in fight or flight 24/7, then you end up with different things in the body that are long-term, long-acting. It can affect the digestion. The stomach starts not making enough acid and pepsin. The endocrine system isn't making gastrin to tell the stomach to make the acid and pepsin. The nervous system's going haywire. All kinds of things can happen when those adrenals get overloaded. And that goes back to that brain connection, because so many of your neurotransmitters are made in the gut. 95% of your serotonin, a bunch of other ones. The interplay is just huge. That goes and affects the gut, like I just talked about. So what happens over a lifetime? Autopilot happens. And why is that? Why do we go into an autopilot based on all of those things? Well, it's something called the reticular activation system. I learned about this a couple years ago, and it's just become one of my pet projects to read about it and learn about it, especially once I saw how much it ties into all the functions on our scanner. I call it RAS for short. And here's a picture of where it's located in the brain. It's an amazing, amazing function that is present in the brain. It has a bearing on your thoughts, your intentions, your actions, what you see, what you don't see every day. It's amazing how much effect this has. Basically, that reticular activation system is taking in all that information that we were talking about before. It's taking in everything that you hear, everything that you see, everything that you feel, everything that you touch, everything that it's hearing from around you. All that information is being taken in by that reticular activation system. Now, I've said this before in talks, it's like a bouncer in your brain, okay? It's like a bouncer outside of a nightclub that is charged with the responsibility of only letting certain things in and keeping certain people out. And it's very specific guidelines, very specific rules, very specific boundaries on what gets entry and what gets denied entry. So what happens over a lifetime with the function of this bouncer? Well, over a lifetime, you're growing up and you're in school. I can think of a couple of incidences when I was growing up. When I was in the first grade, I had a third grader come down the stairs, and she kicked my lunchbox down the stairs. And when you're in first grade and it's a third grader, they look like they're adults. I don't know why, but they just do. At any rate, I remember that incident. When I was in kindergarten, I had a kindergarten teacher who locked me in the closet for asking to go to the bathroom. It was the 60s. Okay. But needless to say, I remember that as clear as day to day. Probably had an impact emotionally on my urinary system over the years. So these kind of experiences, as well as the good ones, the praises you get, the good experiences, the trip with your family to the ocean. You know, I remember my first boy I had a crush on in first grade. So cute. Oh, you know, all those experiences. When you got proposed to, the first cruise you went on, the trip you got to take, experiences with your brothers and sisters, the job you lost, the red slip you got from your supervisor, you know, all of those things. What happens is the good, the bad, and the ugly accumulates in the reticular activation system, like this picture of lint. Now, as I go on in this talk, I want to give credit where credit is due. I actually rewrote this entire talk 2 days ago because I heard a podcast by Mel Robbins. And she was my mentor in a private course for about 6 months. I have a lot of respect for that lady. And I heard a podcast by her, and the podcast hit me so hard with how much it related to us being in a superior position with having inner voice, MindSync in the hub, that I rewrote my entire presentation. She, on her presentation, gave 8 statements that you need to say to yourself every day and the science behind them. I don't usually use notes, but that's why I've got these papers up here, because I wanted to make sure I did it correctly. from her, but I want to give credit where credit is due. And those statements can make a massive difference. Anybody that wants to get them from me afterwards, if I say it too fast, you're welcome to. So this lint accumulates and accumulates and accumulates. And unfortunately, what it does is it can keep us either going back and forth on both sides of this tree, or it can keep us stuck more on one side of it, because that bouncer, that reticular activation system, the RAS in your brain, it sees the world according to what you believe is important to you. And it doesn't let anything else in. Anything else that tries to come in that's not important to you gets kicked out by the bouncer outside the club. So think of how the different experiences that you have can influence you being in fight or flight 24/7. What's your bouncer going to do? See? So a lot of the reactions that we have and a lot of the things that we actually believe in aren't necessarily the truth, but that part of the brain sees that it's so important to you that it protects that belief and doesn't let you see other opportunities. That situation can be totally reversed using inner voice, MindSync, and on nuclear steroids, the hub. The Secret came out. How many of you are familiar with The Secret? Okay, good. When The Secret came out, it went viral. And it actually had a really good positive impact on a lot of people. A lot of people used the things that she brought out in it to think about things and to visualize things. And a lot of people had outstanding results. And then there were a lot of people who didn't have any results at all. And the way that it was presented wasn't necessarily presented in exactly a scientific way. So it got the reputation of being, what's that word they use all the time with what we do? Woo-woo, yep. Yeah, woo-woo, hoo-hoo. Oh, The Secret, yeah. So it got the reputation of that. But there actually was truth in it. In fact, I wanted to make sure I got her name right. Dr. LaBelle was on a Wednesday night call a while back, just a couple weeks, and she went into the importance of visualizing and the value of repetition and picturing things and how athletes use it and how it can get results. That is so true, and that is so necessary. And you can use your inner voice, your MindSync, and the hub to do that. But past that is another part of things that is important. You can get the thoughts. This is very important. You have to start thinking the right things first. And then you can get a new mindset, which can get you a lot of results. But there is emerging science that shows that one of the things that fast tracks results and gets it where you really, really see the fruit from your effort is action. You'll see here the visualization of that brain, the light bulb has gone on. They've gotten a new mindset, but what is going to fast forward them is going to be action. We want, other people want, our clients want, our family wants to skip old habits and to get new habits. How many of you have found yourself stepping on the scale and saying, it hasn't moved? Oh, it might have been the ice cream I ate last night. It could have been the chips yesterday at lunch. I did have that beer last Friday night, you know. And then you tell yourself, Monday morning. or what's the other one? Tomorrow, right? And then what's the saying? Tomorrow never comes, right? So we all want to take old habits and make new habits. And your inner voice, your MindSync, and your hub can fast track you to that, especially the hub. That reticular activation system has that, like the picture before, and then there's like a webbing. Mel Robbins compares it to like a hairnet when you work in a restaurant. It just kind of sits there in the brain, and it communicates and works with all the other parts of the brain. So think how important it is what your reticular activation system is letting in or kicking out. It has a profound impact. So this is so true. If you change your RAS, you change your life. That is solid, scientifically proved truth. Change your RAS, you change your life. And what happens is when you change that filter and start moving that lint out, the RAS starts letting you see other possibilities. It starts letting you see things, and it's not that you're manifesting them and that they're coming to you and they weren't there. They've always been there. It's just the limitation of your RAS has made it where you didn't see them. Now you start to see them. So we have inner voice. Inner voice is an amazing tool that can help with the reticular activation system. Why is that? Well, think about it. Lauren has said before you start with your name. He has said before you sit and you think about something that would make you really happy, you think about something that would make you really sad so that you activate the nervous system. And then you speak into inner voice and it picks up in your voice what is out of balance on the vagus nerve behind the voice box. And then it tells you a story with the reports it gives you of what is out of balance. Now, if you just took that report and looked at what it said were positive emotions to think about, negative things to overcome, and looked at the emotions that it mentioned, would you or would you not have what you needed to talk about in MindSync in order to use MindSync that goes in and changes the brain and changes the reticular activation system? Just right there, if you have been hesitant about using MindSync, like, well, what do I say? I can pick out from the ones that are already done for me for affirmations. But I'm here to encourage you to step out of your comfort zone and start doing the custom ones. Start looking at what's in your inner voice and taking the emotions that it talks about and the positive emotions that you're supposed to focus on that have come from your own voice, that comes from your own nervous system, that comes from your own brain, that is your RAS, your limitations, and start using those to come up with positive affirmations in your MindSync that you can use as often as you need. Or I even got it one of those headband things that you turn on and I play it through the night because your brain does so much work on that lint during the night, either adds to it or takes away from it. So inner voice is something that you can use very effectively to start using your MindSync. And then when you get your hub, you transfer that over and you use it in the hub, because then in the hub, you're able to use all of those brain waves. We'll talk about that more later. And you're able to use theta to put your mind in a state where if you listen to your MindSync, your own voice, while you're doing the hub, under whatever brainwave you choose, it's nuclear. It's not just steroids. Really, really consider getting that hub on your radar if you don't have one. Body systems is another one that will give you suggestions that you can talk about when you're doing your MindSync. It's going to tell you certain things that you need to do that you can come up with positive affirmations for so that you can retrain your RAS what is really important to you. And you will have tested and gotten the information, so you'll know exactly what it is that you need to use. MindSync is a game changer. MindSync is just, it's absolutely fantastic. You've had the different Wednesday night calls and the different things that talk to you about how to use the offsets, you know, how to do the sayings, how to do the settings, how you can record custom ones like I just recommended, or if you're just starting out, start with the ones that you're comfortable with as far as reading. But this can have a phenomenal effect on changing what is in the brain. So let's talk a little bit about in the hub. In the hub, when you use it, and you start using those different brain waves, and you start using your inner voice, and you start using your MindSync with the things that you've recorded, and you start listening to them when you're under the influence of those different brain waves, these are the things that it can do. Turn those insights into motivation, in action, even when motivation isn't present, you don't feel like it, you don't want to, it can turn that around. Turn that autopilot, and what did we say autopilot is? It's all of everything that has collected over a lifetime that is making it where you're seeing the world from a very limited standpoint as far as opportunities and positive things that can happen to you, because what's been deposited, your reticular activation uses and protects you because it doesn't want to let in something else because it thinks you could get hurt by it. That has to be cleaned out. The hub can help do that. Turn autopilot into action to get to where you want to go. See, right now, I mean, I know that I'm that way. There's the you that's here, and there's the you, how many of you, the you that you know you could be? How many of you regularly think about the you that you could be and aspire to, and that's why you're here? Show of hands. Yeah. Okay? The hub can get you there. If you take the actions that the reticular activation system needs, and that is to use the inner voice, use the MindSync, listen to it, and take what hub can do, and then show your reticular activation system by action that it's important to you, that lint will start to disappear, and you will start to see those opportunities. That bottom one, a powerful tool with behavioral activation to become who you truly want to be. That behavioral activation is the action. That's what's needed with the hub in order to see the results. So here's the brain waves. Hi Wallback gave an excellent presentation on the different brain waves and what they do. Go back and listen to his presentation. Go back and listen to Dr. LaBelle's, and then also Dr. Nadia and Dr. the other one, Lachelle. Those presentations, especially when Dr. LaBelle's on the mirror neuron network, those are invaluable. Listen to them over and over again until you really get the basic thought of what they're putting out to you, because it's going to help you understand and use your inner voice, your MindSync, and the hub more effectively. Those brainwaves do amazing things. Theta with relaxation, alpha, creativity, clarity, beta with cognitive ability, problem solving, gamma, hyper-focused, cognitive processing. I want you to stop and think for a minute. If you did your inner voice and you came up with different emotions and different suggestions, and then you tailored what you said in MindSync, and then you push the button to go to hub and put yourself with the clips on, the earphones on, the strobe lights on, relaxing, and you listen to your voice say exactly what you knew you needed from those two other parts of your scanner under the influence of one of these brain waves. If you needed to solve a problem, what would happen if you did inner voice and then talked about the positive outcome you wanted in MindSync and then ran beta? What would happen if you needed to have some mental clarity on a project at work and you ran alpha? What would happen if you decided to run gamma because you had a project and you needed to be hyper-focused? Or what if you just needed to run theta and have some deep relaxation and some internal healing and have the brain open to suggestion for what you found in inner voice, did custom affirmations for in MindSync, and then pushed go to hub and listen to those under the influence of the brain waves, having your brain be totally receptive to what you had written and said, and having it be that reticular activation system just jumps to attention and realizes that it needs to take a different track. It needs to let you see possibilities. It needs to help you with this. It needs to assist you with this. And it starts kicking out all the stuff that has held you back and starts pouring in all of the opportunities that you've been looking for. Not that they weren't always there, but now you see them. And then if you back it up by action, it starts to snowball and get rolling. And it gets bigger and bigger and more until you start finding yourself where you are operating on a daily basis with positivity and a good attitude, despite what happens, it can just have an amazing effect on your life.
It's contest time, and this is one of the last contests. This is the last contest for the year.
Yeah, we'll give
Right.
it, this will be the last one and we'll give it away next week.
Yeah, next week. Okay. So you learn from Deb, but what is the way that you recharge your mind?
So answer that question, not in the live chat if you're watching the premiere, answer it on our YouTube channel under this video, and we'll draw 3 names. Next week, we're gonna give away one of our, I think, our
One of my
best
favorites.
products,
Yeah.
and that is Think.
Think. I love Think is this NRF2 activator. Powerful tool, and I love the idea of how do I recharge my mind? So many ways to do that.
All right, so enter the contest. We'll draw 3 names next week, and we will see you then.
That is way too fast for, oh my gosh.
We asked you, what is your plan? What do you want to do for your business? What's your business? How do we word it?
Oh, but what is the way that you recharge your mind and why? Is that right?
Sounds about right. But whatever it is really, we'll have it written on the screen for you.
Okay.
And Dan, you all know as an incredible entrepreneur who founded a great business, merged it with another one, leads 3,000 incredible employees. But of course, his biggest achievement is as a father, 6 kids. He took go forth and multiply literally. And recently he had a little one, baby Sadie, him and Morgan. And there was a tense moment after baby Sadie was born. She came out and the dreadful silence, no cry, no murmur, no nothing. And Morgan and Dan didn't know what was happening. The doctor said, "Don't worry, I know exactly what to do." He picked up baby Sadie and whispered something in her ear, and out came a roar, as if from a lioness. And the baby went on to cry for hours and hours without stopping. Later that day, Dan went to the doctor and said, "What did you tell